My name is Sam Laird from Mashable, and we are gathered here today to celebrate a most wonderful time of year, that being the start of a new NBA season. I am very excited to have NBA basketball properly back in my life, and I think it's pretty safe to assume the three guys joining me here today are excited about that as well. So yeah, I'm excited about this. We've got an all-star cast of NBA expert reporters and writers here with me today. We're going to get into the season, the storylines, the players, the teams, the memes, everything else that makes being an NBA fan a uniquely glorious experience. So yeah, speaking of that all-star cast, we have got Marc Spears from Yahoo Sports here. Say hi, Marc.
How you doing, everybody?
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've got Alex Kennedy from the Basketball Insiders here joining us. Hey, Alex.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got Paul Flannery from SB Nation. Hey, Paul.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. So, all right. The NBA season officially starts a week from today, October 28th. But the preseason is already a week or two old so far. So let's start there and get into to what we've seen so far. You guys have any major takeaways from the preseason? Rookies who have looked better than you thought they'd look? Teams who maybe will surprise some folks? Or what have you guys been seeing so far?
Well, I was really impressed with Derrick Rose last night. You know, from watching him in USA Basketball, was nervous about him, just kind of disappointed from what I saw. Wondered if maybe would see flashes of the old Derrick Rose, but not really the real Derrick Rose ever again. But when I watched that game in Cleveland, or actually at Ohio State yesterday, man, he's playing against one of the elite point guards, and Kyrie Irving, and Derrick Rose looked like D. Rose, looked like his own self, went to the hole strong, athletic, finished great. I mean, everything we were accustomed to seeing from him, we saw last night, and that was something I never saw when I was watching him with USA Basketball, going to their practices. So I think that's a fantastic sign for the Chicago Bulls that Derrick Rose shows that he could be back, and it also shows that maybe that USA Basketball experience was good because it helped him get his legs back underneath him.
Yeah, definitely. There was that funny moment last night where he went down, he got fouled, and basically the entire Bulls bench ran over there like, dude, are you
like fine china?
Yeah. Alex, I'm curious what you've been seeing so far, man. What's been kind of something that's jumped out at you this preseason so far?
I've been impressed with the play of the sophomores. Last year's draft wasn't very good. People, criticized the guys coming into the league. They didn't really do much as rookies. But I think the sophomores have kind of stepped up, especially guys who didn't do much last year. In Washington, Otto Porter's been pretty good, put up some good numbers. Steven Adams in Oklahoma City looks like he could be an answer for them in the low post. And then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope played great during Summer League, led all players in Orlando with 24 points. And then during the preseason, he's been good until his injury. He had the back injury, or not the back injury, excuse me. Jody Meeks had the back injury. But I think he could step in and be that shooting guard for the Pistons this year. He's a shooter. He spreads the floor there. I really like what those three sophomores have done, just because I didn't expect it at all. Last year's draft, it was so weak. Seeing those guys step up and put up much better numbers than they did last year, I think that was a big surprise for me early on.
Yeah, it's cool. This rookie class is so hyped, too, that some of these guys might feel like they have something to prove or something like that. Paul, how about you? So far, what are your thoughts from the preseason?
Well, I make it a point to never put too much stock in preseason stuff because 2 weeks from now we won't remember any of this.
Yeah.
But that said, Detroit has caught my eye a little bit during the preseason. I like what Stan Van Gundy brings to them, some stability, some order. When you have that team was a mess. The whole franchise was in disarray last season. So now you've got some direction. I like what he's doing with the three big guys. There's a lot of talent there. And I think if they can get creative, they might be a team that might surprise in the East. Because let's face it, there is room for somebody in the East to make the playoffs out of those teams that were in the lottery last year. So I'm looking at Detroit right now.
It is pretty wide.
Wait, you said you don't want to go with anything you saw in the preseason. You're going with Detroit?
No, Marc. No. I said that I don't have to put a lot of stock in what I see in the preseason, but if I have to, then I'll go with Detroit. How about
No, I think we got it on record. Paul here calling Detroit to the East.
they're a sleeper.
No, but yeah, speaking of the East there, we cannot mention the East without mentioning the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously. Probably, or definitely the most scrutinized team going into this season. They got a couple free agent pickups that might work out well for them this year. So I'm wondering, from your guys' opinion, what's going to be the biggest thing that LeBron and Irving and Love and this kind of star-studded roster are going to have to work out? I mean, they're not perfect, obviously, and Marc, you were just up in Ohio and saw them firsthand and wrote about it for Yahoo. Kind of, what do you think is the biggest obstacle between where the Cavs are now and what they'll have to do to really, really be prime contenders come May and June?
Well, I think Paul could certainly attest to this because he was there at the same time. But, we will both watch the Celtics in 2007, 2008 when Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett got together. And I remember Ray saying that it took to about March for those guys to be on the same page. And you could tell there was some tentative play at times. And I could see Kevin Love kind of being like that. Everybody wondering what their role is. Deion Waiters, no, Deion Waiters is still going to be Deion Waiters. But, there's no real point guard there. I really still see Kyrie as a scorer, not a true point guard. Yeah. You got four guys in that starting five that are capable of giving you 25 on any given night. So they got to learn, like the Celtics learn, like the Miami Heat learn, to be unselfish, to be about the team, to not worry about yours, to do what you have to do to win. And that takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in training camp. The good thing for them is the Eastern Conference it has some margin of error available for them. And so I do think they won't take their lumps like, say, Miami did at the beginning. But I do think it's going to take some time for them to get on a roll and be the best team that they could be, and we'll probably see their best team come playoff time.
Mm-hmm. General chemistry, it sounds like, then is going to be the issue. I don't know, Alex, would you agree with that, or how do you feel like Kyrie and LeBron are going to work together? I mean, Kyrie obviously loves to dribble and cross over and drive for the hole and all that stuff, but he's going to have to defer a lot more with LeBron. Do you think that'll be a little bit awkward at first, or can they make it work?
Yeah, I think Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love will both have to sacrifice. I mean, we saw that in Miami whenever they came together, that everyone had to sacrifice a little bit. You get less touches, you put up, a little bit worse numbers, but it helps the team and you win. So yeah, they definitely figure it out. But I think LeBron James, it's going to be interesting to see him play with the top point guard because he really hasn't had that. So I'm curious to see how they can play together. I think also the defensive end, that's my big thing. I want to see how they can step up on defense. Obviously, having LeBron James really helps, but down low, they don't really have much of a rim protector there. They're going to have to see Tristan Thompson and Anderson Varejao step up on that end. So, yeah, that's kind of an area that I want to see them come together and gel. Defense, they have all the weapons of a great offensive team. David Blatt, everyone says he's a great offensive coach. I want to see how they do on the defensive end as well.
Mm-hmm. Paul, what are you watching for with these guys?
Yeah, I think Marc makes a great point about time. It takes time. And one thing a couple things with that Celtics, like, one of the things they had to learn was not to be less selfish, but to be more selfish. Like, KG and Ray had to be like, okay, we can do this now, even though we got Paul on our team, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be Kevin Love is the guy I'm looking at the most here. To me, he has the most to prove. He's been in the league longer than Kyrie. He hasn't gone to the playoffs yet. People debated him all season long. I'm curious to see how Kevin Love does because he doesn't have to put up those numbers he put up in Minnesota, but he's got to be the 1A to LeBron. The other thing I'm a little worried about with Cleveland is their depth because it's a little unproven. Look at some of these teams that came together. They had a guy like a Posey. They had a guy like an Udonis Haslem. I'm not sure who that is in Cleveland yet, and I want to see how their depth shakes out.
Mm-hmm. All right, so in my mind it's like, dude, they got LeBron. He's coming home. He's got something to prove. They got this other talent. It's going to work itself out. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Come June, they'll be kicking major butt. Isn't it that simple, do you think? Or do you think that maybe people are overrating the Cavs?
Well, Bull showed us last night that they're for real, that they're going to come with it. And they have a bench, and they have depth. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're tired of everybody, talking about LeBron. And now that Derrick Rose looks like he's healthy, they're a legitimate threat. I would say some dark horses, the Wizards. are interesting. Charlotte, for some reason, I got my eye on them a little bit with Lance, and
Yeah, man.
I think they could be a kind of a spoiler team. Not saying that they would beat Cleveland. You got to throw the Pistons. No, I'm joking. But I do think that there are going to be a lot of bitter teams in the East, tired of Cleveland getting all this attention. Teams like Toronto, even teams like New York, once they figure out the triangle. And one thing that this team is going to have, man, they're going to have a bullseye every game that's going to be much bigger than you'll see from the Spurs, Clippers, OKC, Golden State. No team in NBA is going to have a bigger spotlight and bullseye than them. And that's why I think, and I had in my story, that LeBron had this team meet for 30 minutes before their first practice, and he's being such a leader now because he's the only star on that team. I mean, I guess you could say Sean Marion and Mike Miller to a certain extent, but they're not LeBron James. He's the only one that's really been there, and he's the one that the pressure is on. So he's going to make sure that they're ready for what's coming their way.
Yeah, the Bulls are pretty fascinating. I mean, obviously, everything kind of depends on how well Rose can bounce back from, an awful couple of years of injuries. And like you mentioned earlier, Marc, he looked kind of up and down at the World Championships, and was impressive the other night. But they also added Pau Gasol. They got Doug McDermott in the draft. And they're or LeBron just the other day was like, managing expectations and saying the Bulls are much better than us right now. Do you think that's right, Paul? And do you think that the Bulls have a legit chance of coming out of the East, or do you think it's still the Cavs to lose?
Right now, I think the Bulls are better. Right now, and then let's see what looks like in March, April, May. I have the Cavs coming out of the East, which is just a gut feeling more than anything else. I can't see anybody else coming out of there. Honestly, the one team I could see maybe if everything went right, and this is like really stretching, is Washington. Yeah. But to me, if everybody's healthy, those are the two best teams in the East by far, and I think that would be a knockdown, drag-out, 7-game kind of series, that kind of thing. So yeah, when I look there, that's what I see. I see those two teams. Now, what does Cleveland look like in March? What do they look like heading into the playoffs? Who's healthy? Those are the real key questions that will determine this thing.
Definitely. Alex, Washington picked up Paul Pierce this offseason. They re-signed Gortat. They got Trevor Ariza. Do you feel like they did a good job this offseason in upgrading their roster and their prospects for this season?
Yeah, I think it was a decent offseason. Bringing in Pierce, he's obviously going to help that team, even if it's just in the locker room and being a leader for that team. When you have so many young guys, you want to have someone that's been there and been to where they're trying to go. So I like the Pierce addition. Re-signing Gortat was huge for this team. He was great last year, and he's someone that can be, a long-term answer down low for them. He's a little bit older, but he's shown he can still play at a high level, and he didn't really have big minutes, on his body until a few years into the league. So I do like their offseason. Losing Ariza was tough to the Rockets. I really think that he played well last year in a contract year. He really stepped up. But if Pierce can play well and Otto Porter, who I mentioned earlier, can step up and be better than last year now that he's had a full training camp, a summer league, all these different things to kind of prepare, then this team could be very good. Like Paul said, they could really emerge as a top team in the East, especially if John Wall steps up even further. The injury to Brad Beal is unfortunate. That's going to really hurt them, I think, just because he's not going to be there for who knows how long, a month, maybe month and a half. But if they can all come back and look better and play as well as they did last year during the playoffs when Beal looked excellent, I think this team could be scary.
I'll say this about them too. I think Pierce gives them an edge, a nastiness. He's a captain. He's a leader. He's what I call a closer in basketball. Mm-hmm. A guy like 5 minutes left in the game, you could get it to him and he could make that mid-range jumper, get fouled. He could finish a game for you. I love Ariza as a player, but I think this team needed some veteran nasty, and Paul Pierce will give it to him. He doesn't have to be that 30-point scorer anymore, that 25-point scorer anymore. But if he could give him 15 to 18 and he could make some key shots and key plays for him down the stretch, Paul Pierce, I think, has the ability to push this team forward from a mental standpoint and make them very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've already seen kind of what he brings. It's hard not to like Paul Pierce in general, but I think it was the first preseason game, him and Noah got in a little argument, and he just reached out and poked Noah in the head. Like no one else is going to do that, but a guy like Paul Pierce, it's awesome, and it's just the kind of thing that you sign him for.
Pierce ain't scared. We know that.
No, we do know that for sure. All right, let's head out west for a minute here now. The big story here in the Bay Area, where I am and where Marc is, obviously, is the Warriors. They canned Marc Jackson after a really successful few years by Warrior standards, and brought in Steve Kerr, first-time coach. He was talking about moving the ball. He was talking about doing a lot of things much differently than Jackson did to maybe take better advantage of the skilled guys they have in the perimeter, especially, obviously, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But at the same time, no one's ever seen him coach before. You guys feel like that was something the Warriors should have done and will end up being something we look back on as a smart move, as an upgrade, or is it something that might blow up in their faces?
You know, I do think that they have. Yes, Kerr has not coached a game before, but his assistant coaches leading with Alvin Gentry are strong. I mean, Alvin could easily be the head coach of this team, and he's an offensive mastermind. But watching them in the preseason, things look easy for them scoring-wise now. Be interesting to see if they start Harrison Barnes. That could be better for them, bringing Iguodala off the bench. But this team is deeper and better than they were before. You know, adding Livingston, adding Barbosa, adding Rush. It looks like Ezeli could play tonight, getting him back, having a healthy Bogut. This team was one win away in a Game 7 without Bogut, without Ezeli, from getting to the second round. Mm-hmm. I think this is a very scary, really good team that could be in the finals. And now with Klay having done what he did in USA Basketball's World Championship, his confidence is on another level. They got I don't care what Washington and Cleveland says, the best backcourt is in Oakland right now. And Golden State has a chip on their shoulder. I would not be surprised. And I guess I'll say this here first, and look, I live here. I'm not a homer, but to me, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Golden State could be holding up that trophy at the end of the season.
Oh, Marc Spears just called it. Are you listening, world? Alex, Paul, what do you guys think about this Warriors team, this Warriors offseason of change?
They're loaded, man. I mean, Marc just ran through the names. That if they have everybody healthy, they are loaded. The coaching thing, I don't know. Let's see. I hate to keep saying let's see, but Steve Kerr's a first-year coach. He's been around the game his whole life. Marc Jackson got an interesting rap there, sort of a bad rap in some ways. I mean, he got that team to play defense, and that team they exceeded expectations under his watch. Yeah. But if they felt like they needed to make a coaching change in order to make that next step, that is not an unprecedented move. We know the Bulls did it with Phil Jackson back in the day. People have been screaming for Oklahoma City to do it for years. It's not an unprecedented move. I like the coaching staff that he has. I love their talent. I think people they're weird because they surprised us one year. They kind of disappointed us a little bit last year, and right now is the sweet spot where they should reach that potential. I mean, I think they're right there. I think they're in the list of contenders for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, I agree with Paul. I think you had to make a coaching move. There was so much stuff going on behind the scenes as well that kind of made things difficult. So with the expectations going up and the behind-the-scenes drama, I think they felt like they just wanted to move in a new direction. I'm curious to see what Kerr can do with these offensive weapons. Like Paul said, they really improved on defense. And that was kind of what Jackson focused on. But the Warriors were, I think, 16th last year in offense. And when you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the weapons that they've had, I think they can be better offensively. So I'm looking to see Kerr kind of step up and use some of these weapons better. So I'm curious to see how they look on offense. I think it may take a little bit of time. Anytime you have a coaching change and try to, like Marc said, possibly move Andre Iguodala to the bench, guys are going to have to adjust a little bit. But this team could be very good. I think Marc has a point. They could be a contender. They could be one of the best teams in the West. They definitely have the pieces and the potential.
No, they're definitely expected to contend in the West. I think, up there with teams like the Clippers, Spurs, the Thunder, who are going to be missing Kevin Durant, much to my dismay as a fan of basketball for the first couple months of the year. But that opens up this other really interesting side plot in Oklahoma City with Durant out, and suddenly you're going to have Westbrook being the man for a couple months there. How do you guys think he's going to handle it? I mean, I know you've probably all seen that meme of him just like lustily eyeing the MVP trophy. Do you think he'll just go like full on kamikaze, or is he going to be like kind of the under control veteran sort of leader that maybe they'll want him to be for the first couple months of the year?
All right, so Marc gave us a bold call on the Warriors. I'm going to give you a bold call on Russell Westbrook. He is my MVP candidate right from jump. Ooh. I think he's going to have a massive, massive season. I don't think he's going to change to please anybody. I think he's going to be who he is, which is a really, really good player. Top
80
10
points
player.
A game. He's going to average 80 points a game.
He's going for it all, man.
At least 80 shots a game, man. Come on.
I think if Durant is able to come back healthy, of course, that's the big caveat. If he can come back healthy, I think this is not the worst thing that's ever happened to them. I think it gives Russell a chance to run the show, gives some of their younger guys more of a chance to play. I think it might benefit them in the long run as long as KD comes back healthy. That's the biggest thing. But I think Russell's going to have a huge year.
I'm on board with that.
Well, the thing is this, though. In the West, there is a very little margin of error there.
True.
And what's going to happen is a place like Oklahoma City, for those people that haven't been there, wow, it's a really tough place to play. And I know the crowd doesn't play, but that place is loud, boisterous, as loud as any place in the NBA. And the Thunder really get up for that. Now, if Kevin's not coming back to January or maybe later, I don't know that they get one of the top 3-4 seeds in the Western Conference because, I think Russ will do well, but does he have the supporting cast to make up for the NBA's reigning MVP? I don't think so. So I could see a San Antonio, Golden State, Clippers, maybe a Houston, maybe even a Dallas, who I think has improved, perhaps having a better record and forcing Oklahoma to have to do all this on the road, or maybe playing a San Antonio in the second round. There's going to be a lot on Russ to, Kevin Durant held the fort when Russ was hurt, but can Russ do that for Kevin Durant? I don't know. But so I just think in the end, the West is so difficult for Oklahoma City that this injury, even if they come back strong, it's going to be really hard to overcome come playoff time when they might have to spend a lot of time outside Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we kind of saw it last couple of years with Westbrook going down at different times. When you got Durant and Westbrook, obviously that's a hell of a combo. But when just one of them goes down, I don't think that supporting cast is enough to really kind of keep the ship afloat. But while we're out west here, let's talk about the Lakers a little bit. I've got this sort of just mischievously delighted feeling about them that we might see just like a crazy, utter train wreck there. I mean, you got aging Kobe Bryant still sort of being the top dog, and ESPN dropped this fairly big report yesterday about how, maybe folks don't want to play for him, and he might be a reason for some of the Warriors' most recent woes. You got an off season where their biggest pickups were Jeremy Lin and Carlos Boozer, and they got a good rookie, but he's a rookie, and Julius Randle. And then you got Byron Scott insisting that they're going to shoot like 12 points a game, which seems counterproductive in the modern NBA. I don't know. Do you guys think it's all going to blow up for the Lakers down there, or might they actually be kind of halfway decent? And is it going to be worth following just to see what all goes down there?
Tell Kennedy to bring his dog out, man. Let me see your dog. What was that, man? We can't just go by and let that not be addressed. What was that?
Yeah, that was his name, Alex. We'll walk by. That's my vicious dog.
Can we see him?
We need a hot take.
Can we see your dog real quick, man?
He's all the way over there. We're going to do that right now.
All right.
No,
I just saw the Lakers, and this is a different Kobe Bryant now. This is like I don't want to say this is like Michael Jordan in his last years, but what I did see, there's a lot of turnaround jumpers. It's a smarter player taking the ball to the hole, passing it to guys for assists. I think he might have the highest assist average of his career. I still think he could play. You got to give him what we give Derrick Rose, an opportunity to get his legs underneath him. So I actually think he's going to improve and get better. I don't know that he's dunking on anybody anymore, as we saw with his two-handed off a two-leg dunk, which he never does after he stole the ball from Stephen Curry. But I do think that I'm not giving up on Kobe, but I'm giving up on the best of their team, the rest of their team. The rest of their team is like their D-League team, basically, man. They're bad. No Pau Gasol. Steve Nash is hurt. I don't know what he's going to be. I almost feel bad for Kobe in the sense that this is going to be his end, playing with this group. But that's, they rolled the dice with Dwight Howard. It didn't work, and this is the after effects of it.
Yeah, it's a hard roster to pick up assists on if you're Kobe there. Alex, what do you think about the Lakers this year?
I think it's going to be really, really ugly. I wouldn't be surprised if Kobe returned to form and averaged, decent stats, but I think this team's going to lose a lot of games. And that may be what's best for this team, honestly. They keep their top 5 pick if they lose a lot of games. So, I think that would be a good thing in the long run. I know Laker fans don't want to hear that. They're used to contending every single year. But going young may not be bad. You already have Julius Randle there. Jordan Clarkson has some potential. So I really think this team could be decent in a while. There you go.
There he is. I can't stay away.
But yeah, I think that may be actually what's best for this team. Kobe's gonna put up numbers. We know he does that when he's healthy. But yeah, this team's bad. They brought back a lot of the guys from last year that really struggled, and that's why they lost so many games. So bringing back all those same guys, I think they're gonna lose a lot.
You know how painful it will be if they don't get that top 5 pick, if they lose that pick to Phoenix. Like this Steve Nash trade could hurt this franchise for years. It could be devastating for them, and it's very possible that with all the bad teams in the East, that they could do just well enough not to land the top 5. And Kennedy, tell me that it's top 5, right? Protected.
Yep, top 5.
Yeah, that's something that a Lakers fan is certainly going to watch. This team is not going to be in the playoffs. There's a good draft next year, but if they lose a pick, that's even going to be more heartbreak, a tougher ending for Kobe, and more pain for a team that's won a lot.
Yeah, it could really, really go south. All right, we're about to start wrapping up here, but just a couple more things I want to hit on. The first
Just
one.
interview the dog.
Yeah, first of all, basketball dog. We need basketball dog out here. But first thing I wanted to hit on was the rookies. It's a very, very hyped rookie class, and for good reason, I think. But I want to get your guys' Rookie of the Year picks and kind of thoughts on the class as a whole. Who's gonna impress the most this year, and who's gonna be the best in 5 or 10 years when we look back on this 2014 class. Paul, maybe I'll start with you. Who do you like out of this rookie class the most to take home the award this year, and who do you have your eye on longer term?
All right, so for this year, I think Jabari Parker is probably the favorite going in. He's going to score. He's on a young, interesting team without a lot of expectations in terms of wins and losses. There's a lot of opportunity there. I think his game immediately translates better to the NBA than some of these other guys. I'll give you a sleeper though, Elfrid Payton, the Magic point guard. I liked him a lot in summer league, and I'm in Boston. I've seen Marcus Smart quite a bit. I think he's going to be right from the start. He's going to be a tough, hard-nosed defensive guard. He's got a lot to learn about running a team. His shot's got to improve. I think Marcus Smart's the guy you can put out there for 20, 25 minutes a night right now, and he won't embarrass himself. He'll be okay. Long term, I don't know. I'm not sold on Wiggins. I haven't been sold on Wiggins. Embiid, I want to see if he's healthy. So there's a lot of questions for me in this draft class.
Alex, Mark?
Well, I'll say this. I do think that, I'm with Paul. Jabari is probably going to be an easy Rookie of the Year. With Wiggins, though, I feel a little bit different. Him and Zach LaVine are on a team that, they're going to need them to put up shots. They're going to get a lot of minutes. So I think they're going to get an opportunity to fail, to succeed, to produce, to get some confidence and get a lot of minutes, which I think ultimately will put them on the all-rookie team. One guy I really, really like is Elfrid Payton from the Magic. I don't know if he's going to get that jumper anytime soon, but this kid makes great running shots. He makes everybody better. I think he's going to be a steal, as I do think LaVine will be as well. But 5 years from now, I think Joel Embiid, I know we don't see it now, but I think he'll be the superstar in this league and the best player of this class.
Yeah, for now a Twitter superstar, which we'll have to take. But
Best in the league.
yeah, Alex, what are you seeing with this rookie group?
It's funny. I agree on Elfrid Payton. I think I've seen the same exact thing you guys have. I'm down here in Orlando, so I've seen him play a lot, and he's excellent on the defensive end. His playmaking ability just really impresses me. Like you said, he's not a great shooter yet. He needs to improve his decision making a little bit, but I've been very impressed with him. I think there was a big question about how he would do against NBA competition because he was playing against guys at Louisiana Lafayette that weren't really on the same level, but he's looked excellent so far. So I think he's a sleeper to watch. I think Jabari Parker will come in and be the best guy this year. He'll be Rookie of the Year. He's going to have every opportunity to succeed in Milwaukee. He's going to get so many shots, so many touches. So I think he steps up and emerges as a top guy this year. In the long run, I like Embiid or Exum. I really think these guys have, boom or bust potential, but they have the highest upside. Embiid, we were talking about him before the injury as possibly being, one of the best center prospects coming in the league in a long time. In college, everyone fell in love with him, it seemed like. He's probably the number 1 overall pick if he stays healthy. And then Exum, it's kind of tough. You could see him just flaming out, but you could also see him being very, very hard to guard with his size, his scoring ability, playmaking ability. If everything comes together for him and he reaches his full potential, he could be very, very good.
Yeah, that Exum's a mystery to me, man. But I can't wait to see how he shakes out. And yeah, Peyton's really, really promising and really interesting pick with him and Gordon. That the Magic picked both of them in the same draft, maybe 2 longer-term projects with a ton of potential. And I'm curious to see how Gordon does because he kind of did at Arizona. He wasn't a star from the sort of being the focal point of the offense kind of perspective, which I think is kind of the way he's going to have to play in the NBA. So it's cool that he was able to function that way and show a really good attitude and be a huge player for Arizona despite not being a go-to offensive guy. All right, last thing here before we wrap up is, Marc, you kind of went out there with the Warriors, but I want to get your guys on record. As of now, obviously things change. Title pick come June. Who is raising the trophy? We'll start with you, Marc, since you already got halfway there.
Why not? What the heck? Warriors going to win it. First championship in ever since Rick Barry, and they were playing at the Cow Palace, downtown Oakland, Broadway. They're going to do a parade with Stephen Curry and Clay holding it up. I see Clay getting re-signed. I like the Warriors to be the shock and bring a trophy back to the Bay Area.
Sounds good to me, man.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm with that 100%. Alex, who do you like?
I have the Cavs over the Clippers. I think the Cavs are going to come together. It may take some time, but by playoff time, this team should be very, very good. I just don't think there's anyone really in the East that can compete with them. The Bulls have a shot, but I like this Cavs team to come together, figure things out, and win it all. I love the Clippers' depth. I love, the fact that they have 2 MVP candidates in Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. I think the second year in the Doc Rivers era will be much better. So I think it'll be tough, but I have the Cavs over the Clippers.
All right, Paul.
I mean, I hate going against the Spurs, but we're gonna have to because otherwise this is boring. So I got OKC. I got OKC over the Cavs, and
You have a Russell jersey on.
I got it, man, right here, right here. And I think it's time. I think it's time for them. They've been building for 4 or 5 years now. If they're going to learn any more lessons, I mean, this is the time to do it. They got to get this done now, assuming KD comes back healthy. So I got OKC. And over Cleveland, and I think this is the year for Russell Westbrook.
All right, I like all those picks. I'm with Marc though, man. I think why not for this Warriors team this year? They'll get to the finals, but I think the Cavs are going to take it because I don't know. Call me what you will, but I am still a 100% LeBron James fanboy. I don't think there's much beyond his capabilities, and yeah, but the fun part will be seeing how it all plays out between now and June. Again, we had.
You won't go on a limb, huh?
Oh, me? No, I'm there. Cavs over Warriors. Let's do it. It's 6.
That's going on a limb. I'll give you that.
No, I'm on record. And now all that's missing is Alex's dog, but I'm not going to wait around for his picks. So anyway, we had Paul Flannery from SB Nation, Marc Spears from Yahoo Sports, Alex Kennedy from Basketball Insiders. I'm Sam Laird from Mashable. Thanks to everyone who tuned in live, and we'll see this later on. And most of all, thanks to you 3 for your time. I had a good time, and hopefully it was entertaining for you all as well.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye, guys.